First off, thank you very much for coming in. My name's Janosky, for people who didn't hear my story beginning. Right now, currently, I own a company that I started about 3 years ago called JPM Technology Consulting. What it is basically me and 4 of my friends that I work through the industry with. We now go and design stadiums, buildings, and work with multiple NFL, MLB, NHL teams and design all their infrastructure. I'm more the technical side than the production side. But with that, I've had a very up and down career in the television broadcast industry. I've been in it for now 22 years. And I've been laid off. I've been fired. I've been down in the dumps, not liking the job I had. And I've been at the highest mountains. I got to, as we talked about before, I got to sit next to one of the people when I was in college that I idolized and talk with them for multiple hours. I got to travel the world. I'm actually leaving on the 10th to go to Amsterdam, and then I'm going to Australia for work to go do some work things. So right now where you're starting, be proud of yourself. Be very congratulatory to yourself and work very hard. So going back to it is, I guess the first thing to start is that, yes, I am too a community college student. I was your typical, as you can tell from me talking, I was your typical athlete in high school. Everybody thought I was going to go play football after college. And then I decided that I was going to go to my local community college because I wanted to work because money was important to me. So I went and I worked during the day and I went to community college. Then I transferred to a 4-year college. Before that, I actually really liked the technical side. So when I first was ending high school, I was one of the first people to go to a technical school to learn computer networking. So I'm going to date myself. I graduated high school in 1999, so I'm a little bit older, and networking was just coming out, and I would go half the day to school, and then I would drive to another city, and then I would learn networking. So as I started discussing in the beginning, this is very honorable. You should be very happy for yourself, and congratulations on continuing your education to the next level. It is very important. Don't take it for granted. I think before most of the people came in, we had over 70% of first generation people that went to college. That is a very big deal. That is something you should be proud of. That is something you should cherish. And I know that families and others are very happy for you too. So take some time to reflect on that as well. So I had a kind of unconventional journey. I grew up as the youngest of a family of lineage of engineers. Most of my family was chemical engineers or, high-level civil engineers, electrical engineers. And here I was like a sports junkie. So I just kind of fell in the path of engineering. And it really didn't sit with me right because I had aspirations of doing other things. So as I talked about in high school, I went and I learned computer networking, and then I left and I went to a school and I built their network, and then I went to community college, and I started learning electrical engineering, and then I went to a 4-year college and I went for electrical engineering, and then I graduated. So what do you do graduating? It's a little different now, but what I did is I went and I ran a club in downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I became a professional bar manager with my college, and I thought that was what I was going to be doing, and it was fun time and everything. Well, my friends all started growing up, and I was the guy that was still clubbing, and they were all married, and I was going around, and finally I had to say, okay, what am I going to do? So I decided that there was 2 things that I loved. I loved sports, and I loved listening to the radio. So I went around, and I thought, oh, this is no big deal. I'm going to go try to get a job. So I called around. I went to stations. Hey, I want a job. I'll work for free. I'll do an internship. I'll do whatever it takes to get in, believe me. And I got the same thing. I'll email this person. Nobody ever emailed me. Call this person. Nobody picked up the phone. Go get business cards made. They'll take you, do that. Oh, you're not in school. Oh, we can't give you an internship. So I did that for about 2 years. And then I got a call from a guy, David Van Dyke. I was living in Columbus, Ohio. The Big Ten network just started. It was the first college conference network. He told me, don't give up. Go to radio street venues. Go to concerts. Go to anywhere you have the street teams that are out, and give them your card. Tell them what you want. Tell you what you want to do. So I started doing that. Doing it, and I went to a Ohio State Minnesota Golden Gophers Tuesday night volleyball game. There might have been like 30 people in the stands. There was nobody there. I went there. I saw this big, huge truck. I walked up to it, and I went pounding on the door and like pounded. Well, now later on, knowing the industry, never go pound on the door of a big truck. The person comes whipping out of the door. They say, "How can I help you?" And I said, "Hey, Dave Van Dyke told me to come with these cards, like wide-eyed, bushy-tail." Ended up talking to the person for like 30 minutes. I handed them my card. They said, "Email this person." And I thought, man, here we go again. Email this person. They'll get back to you. We're always looking for somebody to go and pick up people, to hold the cables, whatever we have. Just always be available. So I quit all my jobs. I just started waiting at restaurants so I could do different things, waiting for this call. I get a call, and they said, it's at 9 o'clock at night, "Hey, we need somebody to be a runner." So for what people don't know what a runner is every single event has a person that their sole job is to take a rent-a-car, and they are basically the gopher. If they need AA batteries, if they need food, if they need to go pick up reams of paper, if they need to go get printer cartridges, you are that person. And you sit there for 13 hours. You're the first one to arrive, the last one to leave. And whatever they tell you to do, you just go get. So fast forward, I did not know this, but I walk in. I'm the runner for the day. I have to report at 5 a.m. The very first people of my very first television career were a guy named Charles Davis, for anybody who's like a sports fan. He's been a figurehead. Another guy named Tom Brenneman that got in a little bit of trouble, but was a absolute like old school TV guy. And then the big shining star was the very first person I picked up was from Fox Sports, Carissa Thompson, who at the time was living in Fresno, California. She only worked freelance jobs, barely could find any work, and she was like in her 20s. And here we were at this place, and we were doing Ohio State, Wisconsin at the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio, and I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I did that job. I thought I did a great job. I didn't get another call for 2 months. They didn't talk to me. They didn't need me. I would call. I would email. Same thing happened. So then I said, man, I'm going to really do it. Next time they call, it's going to be great. Well, here comes a soccer league, the MLS. The MLS needed somebody. So they said, we're going to give you a utility. So what a utility does is they sit behind the camera, they coil up the cables, they do everything there, set up the camera, set up the audio. So I go to be a utility. Somebody says to me, man, you work like so hard. How do you work? Like, how are you not in the industry? And I'm like, well, I don't get the opportunities. So I went and I did that job. They said, hey, call this person. And that person was a company called NEP. For most people who don't know in the sports industry, there is two large people. There is a company out of New Hampshire that is called Game Creek Video, and there's a company out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania called NEP. Now, NEP, I grew up maybe 10 miles away from. I had no clue they existed. NEP is every event that you go to, every stadium, the 53-foot Expando trucks that are there for Monday Night Football, for Super Bowl, for basketball, up in UTEP, they own every one of those trucks, and they have the contracts. So NEP has the contracts for ESPN and CBS. Game Creek has the contracts for Amazon, Netflix, and now they just got Monday Night Football and Fox. So everything that they have, those two companies have. Then there's a couple other ones. So they said NEP has this thing called an apprenticeship. And what the apprenticeship was is you went to NEP for a year and you learned how to do everything from starting from making cables to soldering. Like they didn't know anything you were from day one. So I go to NEP. I get this job. I move back to Pittsburgh. And now I think I'm in the industry. So now I'm moving and grooving. I'm building trucks. I'm working that 12 hours a day all the time. I think this is where I'm going to retire. I'm going to do trucks. They put you on a plane. They send you with a truck. I got to go to Montreal, Canada for an NHL All-Star game. I grew up as a hockey fan. It was like awesome. So I went to go do hockey. And 2008 comes around. 2008, if anybody doesn't know, that was when all the stock market crashed. Next thing you know, I'm in a warehouse and I'm pushing a broom. And everybody's looking at it, and I'm like, I'm one of the lowest paid employees. Like, they're never going to let me go. So we had these meetings. Everything's okay. All is well. And then comes August. August 1st, 75 of us. I was number 5 of 75, laid us off. Didn't have a job anymore. Hated the broadcast industry. Came back and moved to Annapolis, Maryland. I decided to get a job at the gym. I spent 6 months folding towels at the front desk of a gym because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was so mad at NEP, so mad at the broadcast industry. And I ended up meeting at a Navy retirement party a guy who worked for a company, WBAL, which is the next step, which is news, which there's 4 major news people. So there's Scripps, there's Sinclair, there's Hearst, and Nexstar now. Used to be Tegna, but Nexstar kind of took over. So we start talking, and we're kind of chopping it up and going back and forth. And he's like, hey, I'm going to do the Baltimore Parade tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, cool. What do you have? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm in a NEP truck. And I'm like, oh, what truck? So then you start talking more, and then he's like, oh, I'm an SS10. Oh, yeah, I built that one. It was there. No, you didn't. Then we start getting back and forth, and he goes, hey, I got an opening. Why don't you come and be a manager for our engineering department? And I'm like, no, I don't want to get it back into business. He's like, oh, just come down. So I go into the business, and this is 2009. In 2009, for most people don't understand how the business and industry used to work. It was who do you know, how do you know them, and who's your buddy. You couldn't get in for the lick of you if you didn't have a friend that was already working there, or you didn't start pulling cables because your cousin was already working on the truck or something. There was no avenues to go through. So I said, oh, I'll go in and listen. I go in and listen. I'll never forget the guy sitting there, and he's just so mad that I have to sit in front of him, this engineering vice president, and he keeps looking at his watch and talking to me. And then he says, oh, I got another meeting, I got to go. So he puts me back to the guy I met at the Navy retirement party. The guy's like really antsy. I don't know what's going on. And I leave. And as I'm walking out, the gentleman that I just met with is going to lunch. He didn't have a meeting. I was inconveniencing him. He was going to lunch with 3 other people. And that's why I was looking at his watch, because I was just another thought process. So this, after being laid off, thinks in my head like, man, this industry stinks. Like, it absolutely stinks. So the guy calls me back like a day later and apologizes up and down. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm going to make it up to you. Go down to this place in Washington, D.C. This is like my best buddy. I told him how great you are. You need to be there. I'm like, hey, I didn't even want to be in this business. Like, I don't think I want to. And he's like, just go down and see him. So, no joke, and I apologize for my French in here, but I go down, I sit with this guy. He says, look, this guy that works with me, he's a real a-hole. And if you can work with him, you can work with anybody. I just want you to come here. I'll pay you $50 an hour, plus I'll give you $100 a day because there's no benefits, to just come down and work. I thought about it. I said, man, I don't know. This ends up being Washington, D.C., the ABC hub. It was one of the things that changed my life. I accepted it. I went. I took the work ethic. I put everything aside that I hated in the industry. And I learned one of the hardest things, which is called network automation. That network automation propelled me to a job offer that I turned down 3 days later, then to another job offer five days later. It started a magazine that was called Politico at the time, and now it's a web service. It's probably one of the highest in Washington, D.C. I was able to start from the ground up with a family called the Albritons, who in D.C. owned a bank. They're pretty prominent. The Kennedy Center. I got to go to the Kennedy Center. I got to meet my wife that way. The reason why I tell you all these things is because you are going to have a journey that you go through, whether it's in production, whether it's in editing, whether it's in technical or behind the camera, that there's going to be a stumble block. It's not always going to be puppies and bunnies. But don't take it personally. Keep going forward and find out what you really enjoy. For me, I enjoyed the technology. In that technology, there's also going to be other things that you mess up, and that's okay, and you have to just ignore them. For that station, I learned automation. There is a large conference that takes place every year in April. It's called NAB. It's the National Association of Broadcasters. There's about 400,000 to 500,000 people that go to Las Vegas, and it's all the Tootin' technology. Has anybody heard of CES? So CES is the Consumer Electronics Show. NAB is based on CES. So when a 3D TV comes, a projector, an OLED, it is a race for 2 months for every manufacturer to come out how that new station or how that stadium is going to be able to get that technology going. When I was at Politico and ABC for the All Britons, my boss trusted me so much that he left me. And he left me in charge of the whole facility. I thought I knew it all. One of the systems went down, so we had 3 zones. What zones are is like DC has a zone of commercial playout that we sell. Virginia had a zone, and Maryland had a zone. So Winky's Motors has in Maryland, but then Bob's Auto Glass is played in DC. And each one of those have what they call Protect, which is a backup. So the Protects go down over the weekend. They call me. I have my computer. I'm remoting in like the nerd I am. Like, oh, I know what it is. I can just restart it, but I'll wait till Monday. So at 8 o'clock in the morning in Washington, D.C., one of the biggest markets, I walked in. I said, I'm going to reset the server. I brought the whole new station down. 17 minutes. I remember exactly how long it was. During Good Morning America, everything black, all across D.C., Virginia, and Maryland was all me that brought it down. I had to call my boss in Las Vegas, and I had to have them remote in to bring it back up. I almost grabbed my stuff and walked out. It was also another lesson that taught me that was great. My boss looked at me, and he told me, he said, I'm never going to say anything to you because I know you feel twice as bad than me telling you anything. You will never let that happen again. I know you well enough that really affected you. I try to do that throughout my life now. I mean, we all have our moments, but know that you're your harshest critic. So don't be too hard on yourself, and mistakes happen. All it is how we persevere through. So from there, I excelled. I became the head of integration for the All Britain family. I got them ready to sell their stations. They had a father, he passed away. They decided to get out of the news business. I got to be on the transfer committee. We sold 6 stations for $1.3 billion. That was in 2014, so that was there wasn't too many billion-dollar sales. We moved Politico up into a new facility. I got to build it. I found my passion. My passion was building. I loved the meetings. I remember going to a lunch that was sponsored by a vendor, and they kind of pitched us on their new technology. I thought, man, this is absolutely awesome. So then I got a phone call from Texas A&M University, which I think most people know in Texas what Texas A&M is. They're building a new cow field. We want you to come down. I'm like, oh my God, this is my dream. So in 2015, I left ABC. I went to Texas A&M University to rebuild cow field. I thought I knew everything. I started over again. I got down there. The night before the first game against Ball State in 2015, ESPN showed up. I had one cable with one connector on it. I had to sit with the whole ESPN staff, find out what cameras they needed to use, and then I had to drive to Houston to a friend that was a news director, grab all the connectors, drive back up, work overnight, and put everything together. We got that game on the air. There was 5 cameras. Luckily, it was like the lowest tier, so we only had 5. From there, I ended up being the director of broadcast technology for all of the athletic department. I spent 6 years there, and I had another revelation. My ego. My ego got way ahead of me. I was the guy who, when Jimbo Fisher was hired from Florida State, I met him at the Jet. When Bud Williams was hired, I went to the house that they were going to give him to set everything up for him. I thought I was untouchable. I thought I was Teflon. I got an ego. I was harder to work with, even though that I knew I built 3 stadiums for him. I put in 14 video boards. I was the liaison to every coach. I thought I was so good at my job that I was more of a pain to work with than I was actually to the success of what I could do. In 2019, I walked in November, and I had a new boss. It was my 5th athletic director. For most people who don't know how it works, when a new coach comes in or an athletic director comes in, they get to pick whoever they want to stay or leave. They usually pick most people to leave. I was one of the people. I was one of 3 that day that they picked that I was the hardest to work with. So they were just going to start over. The person who I got was so good at the job that they gave him my job and let me go that day. So I had to go home, tell my family that I just got fired, no longer at Texas A&M, and I had to start from scratch again. So back to the story. Like, you're going to have troubles, but just keep on pushing through it. While I was at Texas A&M, I arrived, and there was 3 employees when we started. They came up with the SEC network, and that's why I'm here today. So with those 3 employees, there was no structure. I remember being at that Big Ten network and going through people. How did you get this job? When I went to ABC, who do you know? All those things. And there was no avenue for people to come and get experience. So at Texas A&M, I went to the School of Engineering. I gave a speech like this for 2 hours. I had to go find $10,000 of funding from the athletic department to give for a capstone project to be able to talk for 2 hours. We ended up developing a course for student engineers. At that first time, I went and talked to a class. We got them paid positions. Those paid positions paid $7.25 an hour. That was the minimum wage then. And I got 7 people. Those 7 people came. They ran game days. They ran the video board. They were able to have their parents come and sit on the sideline. They were elated. This was now my new calling. I thought, man, how great is this? So that 7 then turned into 24. That 24 turned into 32. We ended up at Texas A&M, and still to this day, between production and engineering students, there is 134 students every semester that go and work and put on all the broadcasts there. This was what it was. This is how I could make my career. This is how I could give back. This is how the people didn't have to go through what I went through. So therefore, after I'm let go from Texas A&M, I go to a designer. I think I'm going to go to design. So I did most of my work. I've designed the Oklahoma City Thunder Stadium, Cincinnati Bengals, Las Vegas Raiders practice facility, and the one in Vegas. Worked on SoFi. I just came back from LSU last week. So I've probably done about 15 to 20 stadiums, full design, top to bottom. And it wasn't over. So I got a call from the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, an NFL team. I thought, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy. How's that owner going to call my phone? They called me, and I get to hit my pinnacle. I got a call from him. He said, hey, we have the Super Bowl in 2 years, and then we have the men's Final Four afterwards. I've heard your name by multiple people. I heard you're one of the best to do. I want you to come. I'm going to let go of all the employees that we have, and I need somebody to start from scratch, and everybody says you're the best at it. I'm like elated. I go, and I have to move my family out to Glendale, Arizona from College Station, sell our house. I get there, and what's the first thing we do? We go to Glendale Community College. We got 15 Glendale Community College students, and when I pitched it to the ownership, they were kind of wary about it. And I said, look, these are going to be your hardest workers. I got 2 people that I know how to do it. There's a model throughout all production now. that students like yourself that do athletic venues, they do concerts, they do theater. There is an avenue through all universities that allow you to get job experience. So I get to Arizona, we get these students from Glendale Community College, and we rebuilt our whole stadium for the Super Bowl. I picked our top 7 students. They got to work the Super Bowl. They got to sit around. They got to see everybody from, I don't know who the person is, but I remember they were talking about it. Carol G. And they were going around. And then next to me was Jay-Z and his daughter, and Paul McCartney was in the suite next to there. And little Uzi Vert, is that right? Came up to me, and I had to go show him to a suite. And it was just another time that was like hard work and dedication and helping other people was what got me to that place. So these now 7 students and these other 24 that were there, one of them is the head engineer of University of Texas Athletics. Another one is the head engineer of Texas A&M, where I was at. 2 other of them work for me full time. One is in New York City right now working at NHL headquarters, and the other one's at JP Chase working at the headquarters for the building. Sports isn't the only thing that there are opportunities in. You can also work in finance. Finance bankers, they love money. They love to be able to talk to people. They want it to look professional. They want their edits. They want their sizzle reels. They want their sizzle reels to look good. Hospitals love to have teaching tools. So if they're performing surgeries, there's tons of, in Phoenix, we have the Mayo Clinic. They videotape surgeries all the time as training tools for people that are doing it. There's also the sports facilities. There's also commercials. There's also freelance opportunities. There is a great wide net that has in a production space to it. So therefore, what I originally talked to Miss Elliott about was, as she announced, I'm here with El Paso. I've been working with the Chihuahuas and the Locomotive for 6 months now on getting their stadium and updating it and upgrading it. I went to Mountain Star Sports, who owns, if people don't know, Mountain Star Sports is the big umbrella. They own FC Juarez, they own El Paso Locomotive and El Paso Chihuahuas. They have a control room. I asked them, the first thing I got there day one was, why don't you guys talk to students? Why don't you, coordinate? One of the first things they said to me is, El Paso, UTEP's up the street. We have New Mexico State that gives a lot of people, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, that's not where you need to go. You need to go to your local community college. That's where the people that work hard, that's where people that will enjoy it. You will get a lot of people interest. You should go talk to them. So I reached out to Miss Elliott and said, just cold email her, hey, I'd love to get the opportunity to speak to you. So that's why I'm here today. I'm here today to tell you one about my story, tell you that, there's going to be times that you're going to go through this grind and you're going to think that you hit it off and running. And there's times that when you hit it off and running, that you're going to fall down. And don't let that fall down impair you to not try to rise up again. Because every time you fall down, you learn more and more, and you'll learn a new skill, and you never stop learning. On the plane ride here, I was reading an engineering manual. I fell asleep reading it, but I was reading an engineering manual on the plane. I'm constantly trying to teach myself new tricks. In my technology space, it's constantly evolving. We're moving from cables and HDMI cables to IP and network switches. So I had to go and get a whole new certifications and reteach myself at 40 years old to go do things. So always find out what you enjoy and what you want to do. So right here on this front here, I have Southwest University Park. That is where the Chihuahuas and Locomotive play, if people don't know. Some of the things that everybody thinks is, I want to be on air. Of course, everybody wants to be on air. Everybody wants to be famous. Some people don't. but the majority of the people that get in want to. Know that it's not just on the field. We are in a land of collegiate where there is NIL and people are getting paid, and it's good to have a nice area for social media, and players want to have their own brand, and there's people that need to be able to facilitate that. You're editing. You might not be a sports fan. Most of the people that I work with that are really good at their job, they hate sports. If you talk to them, I remember one of the first times when I was at that game working for the Big Ten Network, I asked the guy, what do you do on the weekend? And he says, oh, I'm the 50-yard line camera operator for the Dallas Cowboys. I was like, oh my God, that must be a dream. I hate the Cowboys, but that's got to be awesome. You work for a team. And he goes, I hate football. If I ever go home, I just want to turn the TV off and never watch sports again. So know that there's more in the sports space. There's more creative opportunity than just being a sports person on a sports team. You can bring new life to it. Every event is about a team. If you're a teamwork type of person, like, this industry's for you. There is no one singular person that starts something. That was one of the lessons I learned building Kyle Field, was I thought I knew how to build a stadium. Man, I fell on my face. Having to drive down to Houston, stay up all night to configure different panels and reconnect connectors, that's not a way to do it. I didn't have my team. So you got to have a team. The other thing is you can get involved. Like, UTEP has a minor vision. El Paso, which we'll talk about, is going to start a student opportunity to come and work and actually be paid. It's one of the opportunities that I hope to bring to here. This was kind of what I talked about here, which was our students at Kyle Field. As I told you, we had not only production, but we also had engineering students. They ran replay. So some of the things that you look, Adobe that I came in earlier and that everybody was working on, that is used, Adobe Premiere is used throughout. It used to be Avid, or Flame was one of the big ones that you had, and it was so expensive nobody could touch it. Being a student, Adobe Premiere, Illustrator, InDesign, those are tools that you can use throughout. Don't be afraid to just create something. Send it out to somebody. They also did that. Most of the people now work at ESPN. They learned how to solve problems quickly. Look, I understand most people have to work to help pay. You know, they go to Starbucks, they go to McDonald's. This is opportunities that you could get real life work and move yourself forward for it. So you're going to learn other things like how to work under pressure. Sports is not a non-pressure. How many times have you been there and a video board goes down, or a camera goes down, or you see somebody scrambling? It is very, very high pressure, but you get to learn that team. You're going to learn new paths in media. You're also going to know that, you know, this is how I work. I just had to interview 3 people for a new position with Mountain Star Sports. And how many times I go into an interview and I say, hey, do you guys know what an Evert's router is? Or do you know what a Ross expression is? And most people glaze over. But if you get some of these opportunities and reach out to these different teams, that you'll be able to know what that is. And that's a big thing on graduation when you get to know the equipment. Some of the things that we did with students, big tech, big stage, Super Bowl. I mean, that was the biggest one. It was a highlight of my career. I still talk to him. I just got invited to a wedding from one of the students that I had. He's now an engineer at the Arizona Cardinals. He met his wife as well, and it's one of the things around. He got to do it. Calls me all the time how great it is. Giant screens, replays, effects, production. It's not just the replays and effects. There's lighting in there. There's audio. You can move people in multiple ways. The goal for us in a sports business is that we have every single person forget their everyday responsibilities for 3 hours. If we do that, we did our goal. And then you get to see some of the behind the curtain stuff. So cameras, screens, the video crews, how to manage the graphics, how the actual systems work. And you can be the person that makes it. This is some of the benefits, hands-on experience, career path you didn't know about. You can put it on your resume, and you can be something bigger than your sorts. Remember, you don't have to be on the field. You can gain real life experience, and you can go to do bigger opportunities. These are 2 articles about the students. Texas A&M did a whole article for us in the School of Engineering that they put out for the press just on the students that we weren't a part of. They got to talk and interview to them. And then the sports video group, which you'll see if you go to svg.org, that is the main figurehead. It'll tell you what everything that's going on in sports. They did a whole thing of Super Bowl on the students that rebuild the rack room from Glendale Community College as well. So what I was here for today is it's your turn. What I came here to discuss is I've already got the approval, I already got the talk. El Paso wants to invest in people like you and El Paso Community College students, and they want to do an open call to try to help out and get people to come and work at the stadium. It's a paid job. All that you have to do is email me your interest. You had to email me your interest at my email address. We'll have you come to the stadium. We have replay machines. I have just done we're in the middle of a $2 million upgrade of new equipment. We have brought in some audio people. We've brought in 2 students already to do audio. They attend the games. They work concerts. We have a boxing fight. There was a UFC fight there before. But it's real life experience. This was 3 pictures that I put up there. So the far left picture was what we gutted down, the Arizona Cardinals control room as we were doing it. The middle one was my first student. He is now at the University of Texas as the head engineer, Matt. That was him at the Super Bowl on the 50-yard line afterwards, after he got done. And then on the far right was have fun. This is the students that we had from our Glendale Community College. We all went to the Phoenix Fair. We had fun. You will make relationships in this industry of people that you never thought that you were going to be friends with, and they're lifelong relationships. They're things that bring people together. So I have been very fortunate enough to be successful in this industry, but I want you to be successful in this industry. If you don't take advantage of this opportunity, but you still have a question, email me your question. I will gladly tell you. I now travel. As we studied in the beginning, I now run my own company. I'm very fortunate that I've made enough relationships, but I also travel around teaching people. I try to give back. I try to do 50% of my work as free. So I'm traveling to Australia next week to go teach 4 hours, 4 days of classes to help other people understand the technology. So no matter where you are, how much success you have, make sure that you always give back, because there's always somebody that's in the room that is going to be great and they want to be great. You just have to give them the opportunity. So just if you can keep that in your mind as you go through your journey, then make sure you do that. That's all that I have, but I want to give some time for questions. I want everybody to be able to ask me any questions about my journey, about what I know about the industry. Please reach out. Does anybody have any questions for me? Go ahead. 0. If you have 0, I'm more happy. If you have a lot, it's usually harder, but 0. So what we do is, so we had 2 people that started. So I brought in a gentleman. His name's Mike Tipton. He's a local guy. As I said, I'm from Phoenix, so I fly in and out to help out. He used to be a high school teacher as a high school AV. I brought him in personally because he had the experience and patience to work with students. And 2 of the students that just started, they actually walk around our club spaces with an iPad and they check the audio levels. That's where we started them at. So their next path that I just started talking about is I want them to make their videos. So in my eyes, how this would evolve is that we have people rotating around. So what we did in an engineering, I'll tell you in a technical place, we taught them how to set up a camera, how to connect to a camera, how to check audio levels. how to route in a router, how a system works, how to design it. And then once we got 2 years down the road, we picked 3 people, and those 3 people were called our EICs, our engineers in charge, and they ran the event. So our full-time staff sat behind them in case they got in a bind, but they ran everything. When ESPN called what they call facts, to check out before an event, they called ESPN and they did the facts. We got them real-life experiences. So for how we have now is we start off, just getting the bugs out of it. Like, it is intimidating to walk into a room and you just look around and there is nothing but cables. Like, it is very intimidating. And I understand that. And it's to get you comfortable in looking around and what each thing does. So that's how I kind of approach it. And I believe that if we don't mess up, then we're not trying or we're not teaching people well. Go ahead, sorry. What'd you say?
I was saying, don't apologize.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
I wanted to ask, so do we send a resume to this email, or how do we?
Yeah, just send me that you're interested with your email address, and then we're going to organize everybody to come to the stadium, and then we'll sit and chat with you at what we want to do and see how we can place you and how we could use you as well in for it. This summer right now, so we are at our last 5 soccer games and our last 4 baseball games of the season. So we're going to use this summer to show how things work and do some trainings and come in. It's usually anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours a week, but we work around your schedules. The thing that I always start, and this is a must for me, school comes first. There's going to be people that I'm going to have to push out the door, but we will find out. We keep in touch with teachers. Like, if your school suffers, we won't let you come. You are mostly a student. You're not there to be a worker. You're there to gain experience during your school journey. So know that we work around the schedules. We know everybody else has things that they have to do. We just ask everybody to be honest and helpful. Go ahead. Truthfully, I didn't know what else to do. As I was talking, when I graduated, I was like, I think most people, I didn't know, I didn't want to go sit at a desk as an engineer. I really didn't like engineering. So what was like my passion? And as I said, sports and radio. And I was very immature. So I didn't know what to do. And I thought it would be just to be the cool guy. And that didn't work out. So I ended up, when I got that first job at the Big Ten Network for running, I was like, man, this is fun. I could get paid to do this. And, my first jobs, I wasn't making a lot of money. But then, as progressively as I got better and I started finding out what I enjoyed, it got better and better and better. And now it's definitely given me a very fortunate life. Very fortunate life. Go ahead.
So I wanted to ask, so just for a bit of background context,
Yeah.
I spoke to someone who was working in the IT field,
Yeah.
and he went to college, he got a degree, but he had trouble finding work because, in his words, he didn't have a mentor to teach him the ropes.
Yep.
And so I was wondering if maybe you could talk a little bit about that, about any personal mentors that you had while you went to college, or if you believe that mentoring is an important step to building a career in the tech or production field. So yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it's a great one. So I never physically had a mentor, but I could tell you multiple people who throughout my journey affect my life. Marco Lingy was the guy that was at ABC that didn't yell at me when I brought down the station for 17 minutes. I still talk to him this day. He was. I remember going into his office and I asked him for a raise, and he gave me one of the best advice. He said, "Look, I could give you the raise. I asked for $7,000. How I came up with $7,000, I have no clue. I asked for $7,000 in a raise, and he said, I could give you $7,000 right now, but I guarantee you, when they send out the station raises and you don't get one because I gave you the 7,000, you're going to be angry and you're going to want more. And then you're going to want more the next year and more the next year. And it's just going to eat you alive that you're always getting money. He says, how about I do this? How about I don't give you a budget, but I can justify because you will help me as much as I'll help you. Go get a certification, anyone you want. I won't ask any questions as long as it's like, don't get basket weaving certification for an engineering job. But come back to me with the certification. I got the CBTE, which is the Certified Broadcast Television Engineer from a society called Society of Broadcast Engineers. It just set me on a path. I think I have like 19 certifications now. I'm very, I think they call it addictive personality, where like once I start something, I keep on doing it. So it sent me through my career, and anytime I walked into a job interview and put my resume down, they look at it and they're like, holy cow. And that guy gave me that best advice, like never go ask for money, go ask for something you can physically take for you, and the money will come. And it did. That's how I got the Texas A&M job. That was a really good person that was a mentor. I remember, more advice, I would say more of like talking to people. Don't take anything for granted. When you walk into a room and somebody's a president of a company or a vice president of a company, like don't be afraid to say hi to them, because they're humans just like you. They've had problems. I told the story about how Carissa Thompson was the first person I worked with. Like, I know that she went through her struggles in Fresno. There was a TV station called Versus. She was doing bull riding. So we would always go out to eat dinner as a crew, and she'd be out there and she'd tell about how like she couldn't wear nice shoes because she'd be stepping in like horse poop and bull poop the whole time after she was sitting on the sidelines, and she had to go through that thing. So like, listen to people's experiences. That would be my biggest thing. Like I said, I don't necessarily have a mentor, but time's all we have, and I'll always pick up my phone or always answer something for somebody, because that's the most important thing, I think, to it.
So it's about finding someone who will be there to push you in the right direction.
Yeah, I would say find somebody. So two people that I read a book on was Bob Costas and Joe Buck. Not a fan of Joe Buck, but I was afterwards. They hired a person to just tell them things that normal people wouldn't tell. So find somebody that will give you an unfiltered critique without feeling bad about it. And that's very hard for people to do, to have somebody, but have somebody you trust that could tell you like, hey, like when I was let go from A&M, like, hey, reflect, you were being an a-hole. You were harder to work with than you were in your production. That reflection will go miles. Self-reflection on yourself and your failures are common. It's learning them and going back through. That's it. Because nobody's ever perfect. Nobody knows everything, and you're only as good as you're one piece to a large puzzle. And that's I think another person told me was we're all starring in our own movie. We're all like our starting character in our own movie. So just embrace it. Any other questions anybody has? Go ahead.
Have you ever done any broadcast like NASCAR F1?
Yeah. So sat in the Aston Martin suite last year at Circuit of Americas for F1. I'm going and speaking on a panel with the head of F1 engineering in October. I believe it's in Pasadena. NASCAR, when I worked for NEP, is the apprentice program. We had the contract for it, so we would go out to NASCAR. Not a big NASCAR fan. Pretty much all of it that I've worked, I'd say like the coolest thing was like just seeing people, whether you like them or not, that I grew up with around, that I like really enjoyed. Getting to know the crew is actually, to me, is a lot better. So there's a gentleman that for CBS, he actually does the Sun Bowl. His name's Craig Silver. I just text with him. He's been the producer for CBS. He's done the Army-Navy game for the last like 15 years. It's his like life joy. There's a guy, and why am I forgetting his first name? Pete Radovich. So Pete Radovich is what they call a tease. He built the whole tease. Does everybody know who John Malkovich is? So John Malkovich did the AFC Championship tease where he's like walks up to an orchestrator, and then Jay-Z did the NFC. Pete Radovich is the guy who builds all those, and Craig Silver's the guy who produces after Pete Radovich goes into them. I've become great friends with Craig. That's been like a life, like that's something that I really cherish, that I can talk with this gentleman. But they got to sit one time and they went through the whole Army-Navy game in like a fireside chat that I got to be with. And they went from why they picked these 5 players to focus on, and then they showed the plays that they did in the game and how it all lined up. Sports are unfiltered and they're unscripted, but there's a science to TV that you'll learn in the business on how to tell the story. Before the game even kicks off, they know who they're going to talk about. They know who they're going to portray as the hero, and they know who they're going to portray as the villain. They have a meeting the day before that they script all this out. And every camera operator, if you go to an event, next time you look at their camera. They will have a shot sheet of every player that they should focus on. And it will be on every single camera, taped to the back of it, on every single player that they're going to highlight. And they already build what they call packages. So for your editors out there, you'll build 5 packages of players. And they'll say like, okay, you're in charge of Jesse Janosky today. And you will build me 5 packages of myself and highlights. And you'll build 5 packages of lowlights. And they'll be loaded. And if I do well, they'll play them. And if I do bad, they'll play the others. And if they don't, and neither one happens, they won't play them. So you'll create content that's not even used. But don't get it wrong. Those things are planned out and scripted to the T. So even NASCAR races, like they already know what stories they're going to focus on for it. F1, the same thing. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, I'm sure there's 20 packages about how he's been bad with Ferrari. So that's another one. Any other questions anybody's got? Good. Listening to people, and knowing when to say no. When I was early on, I took a lot of like chances and did a lot of things that I wasn't comfortable with, and then I would take on more work, which would frustrate me. It's okay to say no. I would say like having that hard conversation that you're always afraid of. It might not go the way you want, but having it will make you feel better. Don't be afraid. If you feel like something's not comfortable to you, don't be afraid to sit down and talk about it openly. It's okay. Yeah, no problem.
Was there a time where someone or something pushed your boundaries?
Yes. I had to, there's multiple times. So I was a person that came in earlier in my career. One was A&M and then the Arizona, where in the A&M part, I was not aware because I was young and naive. In the Arizona part, I was. I had to let people go. So I was coming in to remove people, and I actually had to sit down and remove people. And in the beginning, I purposely in my head told myself, like, they didn't perform well at their job. They had every opportunity. I kind of psyched myself out to do it. Where when I was in Arizona, I was like, man, this person has a family. Like, did we do everything? And then it like really affected me a lot. So I think that is something that I feel like went over my boundary in the fact that like I don't take jobs now where I have to do that because I don't want to affect other people's lives that way without having any, like I don't want to be judge and jury for them for it. So unfortunately, yeah, that's the part of the business. But yeah, there's been some times like that. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So, like, during your story, you said there's, like, a lot of perseverance and, like, shortcomings, like, going back and forth and everything. So, like, would you say because in today's industry, do you think it's easier to stay in the industry, or is it just as hard, but also because you have opportunities like this?
Yeah, so I will tell you that in my field in technical, it is super easy. Like technology has completely evolved and it's moving so fast people that have skills and that are open-minded to moving. Like last week, University of Georgia's engineer left because he felt he was overworked. Auburn had 2 engineers leave before. Like every week I get a call from some team that like their staff has left because they took another job somewhere else or they, were overworked on it. Production, on the other hand, is very competitive. So I want to let you know, like, work hard, find what you enjoy because that will make you the best. If you want to do, animation or do 3D graphics, like make sure that you enjoy it. Because if you're just doing it because somebody put you and said this is what a motion graphics editor makes, then you're not going to enjoy it and it's going to burn you out. So I would say that like the perseverance isn't like, don't follow the money. I know that's hard for everybody to say because we all like nice things. We all like to go out and eat and we like to buy nice things and clothes and there's lots of pressures of everybody on appearance and everything else. But if you find what you enjoy and what you really like about the industry, you will grow exponentially and you'll get to work on some of the coolest projects that you can handpick basically as you grow in that industry. Any other questions anybody has? I think we've gone over time. So please, 2 things. One is I would love to help you with your journey. Everybody has different stories and different obligations. And if that's not helping you at Mountain Star Sports, please feel free to reach out and just ask me in general. I will love to get you in touch with somebody that's in the industry that could help you out throughout your journey that's either editing. I go to a lot of universities. I go to a lot of professional news stations and stuff like that that I would love to connect you. So please don't think this is a one-time come in, come out, eat some pizza. Please keep connected. Be proud of yourself. Take some time to reflect on the journey that you have and keep making the industry better. Thank you, everybody, for your time.